Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahashor Kahakudash. I want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well, as well as peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. I was a high spirit way lawyer, and today I want to go into a topic. Going into something I realized about Babylon, man, because Shabbat Shalom, by the way. But I want to go into a topic going into Babylon, right? Now, Babylon is the city of confusion. The word Babylon goes back to Babal, all right, which means confusion. But I noticed with this matrix, right, that you will have a certain plan when it comes to fitness. You have a certain plan when it comes to budgeting. You just have a certain system that, or maybe months down the road, you'll realize that you fell away from it. And I realized that part of the matrix is to pull you into a state of distraction. Like the byproduct of the matrix is you're always distracted. But the way that you can kind of go, the way that you go against the matrix or go against the grain of the matrix, all right, and that you got your own self-government, man. You have your own plan. For example, Babylon doesn't want you to have a budget. Babylon doesn't want you to, live within restrictions. Babylon just wants you to be impulsive and spontaneous, man. Okay? If that makes sense, man. Babylon wants you to be a slave to your impulses, man. And you become your own sovereign man to a certain extent. All right, when you have your own systems, your own do's and don'ts, man. All right? And I was talking to the priest of Yash. We had this conversation. The book of Sirach really teaches you how to move in Babylon, man. All right, Jake's so stoked. Jake is so how can I put this? Jake is so caught up in the 613, which that is our religion, that is our way, that is our heritage for sure. But the problem is, how many of the laws out of the 613 can you keep? All right, and even the ones that you can keep, you can't fully keep that. I'm gonna give you an example. You're supposed to not mar your beard. A lot of us can't even fully grow a beard. All right. Secondly, thou shalt not commit adultery. Is your wife a virgin? You don't have to answer that in the comments. But is your wife a virgin? Thou shalt not eat the pork, or the dietary law in Leviticus, the 11th chapter. Esau puts pork in everything. Or how many things that you eat when you was in the truth and you later found out that it had pork in it. All right? So even with the 613, first of all, you can't keep most of the laws within the 613 because the laws in the 613 was set up for you living independently of another nation. You living in a state of sovereignty. All right? And a lot of the laws are for a sovereign agrarian lifestyle, man. So you can't possibly keep most of the laws. In the other laws, you'll go to prison if you off somebody for being a homosexual. Come on, man. So with the laws of the Darara, which is the law, which means the law, all right, the laws of Moses in Babylon, you can't parade that over Israel. You can't parade that over other Israelites' head because you only keeping a fraction of the laws, man. Out of the 613, and the laws you think you keeping, like I just broke it down, you're not even genuinely keeping that. Sometimes you forget that it's a Shabbat. A lot of you don't even go by the lunar Sabbath, the lunar moon, the lunar Sabbath, so to speak. All right? It said technically you commit adultery because you messing with somebody's freaking ex-girlfriend. There's no such thing as a girlfriend in the Bible. So really it's their ex-wife. All right? Technically you all messing with harlots to keep it a stack with you. All right? Most of us mess with harlots, all right? So you're not keeping the law of adultery, the law of not committing adultery, all right? Technically, we all eating pork in a certain type of way because of Esau put this shit in everything. But I'm saying all that to say, you got the book of Sirach, right? The laws in the book of Sirach, the customs and etiquette, and it teaches you how to conduct yourself in somebody else's habitation, in any man's land. How to deal with harlots, not gazing upon a harlot, not spending all your money on hoes. The scriptures speak about not spending all your money on hoes in the book of Sirach. You see? But what does Babylon want you to do? And what I've noticed about Babylon, because Esau was just a greedy, he has into a science on how to extract the most out of you, something called capitalism. But I noticed black culture is just another cash crop for Esau. Because what does he do? He glorifies spenders. So if you're a Jake, he creates an archetype, which is his prize nigga is a street nigga or a hoe, right? But what's the narrative in black music? Consumerism. How many rappers do you hear rapping about being on a budget? You know what I mean? But what I noticed what Esau does, he gasses up the biggest spender. Because the biggest spender from Israel in black culture, all right, that's a superstar, but he glorifies the guy that's spending money on Esau. For example, if you are a millionaire, right, part of you showing your pompous, part of you showing your power, so to speak, is displaying how much money you spent. So you walk around with expensive everything on, right? But they're gassing up the spender. But the real hustle is, I'm showing you, I'm using this nigga to show you what to do when you get money. Spend it. They had this restaurant, I forgot where it was, but in this restaurant they sell $1,000 steaks. The steak costs $1,000. But I noticed what they do. Granted, the steak is probably only worth what, $50, $70, I don't know, but it's definitely not worth $1,000. I can bet that, right? But what they do, when they bring the steak out, I believe they turn the lights off and turn some special lights on or something like that, and they have the steak coming out with sparkles and shit. And it's like all the attention is on the person that bought the fucking steak. And it's like let's make the person that's really a fool. All right, let's make him feel good. Let's glorify this person. That's part of the hustle. If you see what I'm saying, right? A fool and his money should soon depart. And most Jake that gets rich, especially in the entertainment industry, they end up poor. The scripture says the man leaves an inheritance for his children, man. All right. But most Jakes, they get poor because they want to keep up with the Joneses, man. But I'm saying all that to say, Esau has it to where he gasses up the consumer. He makes the consumer, which is really a fool, an excessive consumer is really a fool. A baller really is a fool when you think about it. All right, but he's a baller because he built his existence off giving his money right back to the white man, the so-called white man. Boosie, all them niggas, like their whole thing is, if you ain't got this, if you ain't got that, you a lame, you ain't no big dog. But this was all the females surrounding him and shit. But at the end of the day, why would I want to attract a bunch of hoes around me, man? Just to really want to spend my money or get pregnant by me so they can have a lifelong stream of income, man. So Esau has it set up to where you're always caught up in spending, and is way more of a challenge to have a system to keep your money. The scripture says money is a defense. What does Jake do when they get their income taxes, man? They go and pump up the economy. They put it right back into the economy, man. Something I noticed about Babylon. Esau doesn't want you to have a system. Esau doesn't want you to have a budget. If you go broke, he has another fucking hustle. Credit repair, this and that. Some of it is genuine, but like title loans or money loans and all this shit, but it's a high interest rate. He overlays you with the temptation to always spend. You're gonna be so bombarded with pleasure and entertainment that you're gonna realize that you're gonna own nothing to be happy. Because a consumer is just that. It's like a subject, like in a laboratory. And Esau studies the psychology of a human, man, to get them to spend. They really study Jake, man. But Jacob is a real spender, man. But I noticed that the person that they target, they make them feel good about being a fool, man. Like I said, the concept of a baller. Like a lot of rappers, they'll rap about how much money they spent on some harlot, man. I bought her a bag, I bought this, I bought that. Like, bro, you don't even know her. And then Eve, of course, is gonna fit into that concept of a baddie, so she could attract that baller, man. But nobody's really building nothing, man. But Babylon will tell you to beware of addictions, man. Babylon tells you in Sirach 19. Wine and women make men of understanding to fall away. You'll lose your connection with the Most High through just excessively pleasing your flesh, man. All right, you'll lose your structure in your government by being caught. You'll wither away by being addicted to pleasures, man. By being addicted to the liquor and pussy, man. You know what I mean? It'll kill your government about yourself, man. And a lot of us have experienced those things, man, or experienced what it could have done to us, man. All right? The scripture tells you about, in a day of prosperity, think of adversity. Meaning, when you have prosperity, they put money back. If you can. Sometimes you can't do it. And we in hell. But you got to go against the grain of society to not, fall away, man. To have some type of structure, man. And it's a challenge. It's the matrix. The matrix is to make you distracted, man. It just the matrix is here to make you a fucking fool, man. Make you a spender. Like in high school, there's always a newer pair of shoes that you wanted, a new something. But the scripture says, when I became a man, I put away childish things, man. Now there's something called discretionary spending, all right? But also, meaning that this is spending based off your own discretion. But once you become an adult, man, you realize that if anytime you get a chance, put money back as a flex. Esau wants you to think spending money is a flex, but put money back is a real flex, man. Esau got his token niggas in his entertainment industry, but they all do the same thing. They all build their image off spending money. And guess who they give the money right back to in their spending? Esau Edom, man. Now, I know you have certain athletes that secretly invest in so-called black businesses, they secretly help the so-called black community. But there's contracts that they got to sign, those multi-million-dollar contracts. There's stipulations within those contracts. And part of those stipulations is you can't help your people, man. You cannot help your people. Ain't that so? This method to tell you how to spend your own money that you earn, man. All right? Something I noticed about Babylon is it's a scheme. It's always a hustle within the hustle. It's a racket within the racket. And the racket is, let's make this person feel good about always spending. All right? And even if you get in debt, even if you get in, you got to spend money to get out of debt. You got to spend money to get yourself out of the situation that you put yourself in, man. You know? But going back to that steak hustle at the restaurant, yeah, they bring the steak out, right? And it's a steak that they finna sell you for $1,000, but they bring it out on the plate with sparklers and stuff on it, man. And like everybody's attention is on you, and they make you really good about overspending. And that's the Babylonian hustle, man. The concept of a baller is this nigga is spending, he's taking money. It's like the opposite of Black Wall Street. You taking money and you taking it outside of your environment. You know? Jake, he saw it, and that's another slave. The concept of slavery is just a cash crop that's gonna make a lot of money. But a nigga is a cash crop. Black culture is a cash crop. You know? Jake has a fucking algorithm in his mind. He has a program in his mind. And as soon as he get money, he's gonna give it right back to the man that oppressed him. You know? You know what I mean? And there's just a generation gap between how our grandparents move, especially in the South, and how Jake in this generation moves, man. You know? But I mean, hey, that's pretty much the point, man. I just, you know, like the Book of Sirach will really protect you from Babylon, man, in a lot of ways, because Babylon pulls from your vices. It targets your lower nature. So it's always, hey, the scripture says, be not excessive towards any dainty thing, man. All right? But I notice when you're self-regulated, you're going against the grain of this place, man. When you say, well, I'm gonna designate this day to my vice, you know? Or I might just get rid of the vice depending on what it is, but you're going against the grain, and it's a challenge. But we got to pray to Yahweh Bahasham Shah to give us that discipline. Because, hey, what I've realized, man, especially in this world, the most powerful trait, and I speak as a man, but of course, the most powerful thing to have is faith. You're supposed to have faith. But just navigating your day-to-day, you got to have discipline, man. And it's easier said than done, and we all fall short of having that discipline sometimes, man. But we're supposed to learn from our mistakes. But the most powerful virtue to have, man, on a physical level is discipline, man. Because Babylon doesn't want you to be disciplined, man. And you'll realize, bro, you was pulled into the matrix in a lot of ways, man. All right? But that's pretty much the point, man. And with that, hope you were edified. Till the next time, shalom.